My earliest gauge has always been the Stones, and I always wanted to end up in that band.
Behind the cigarette smoke and whiskey haze of rock and roll's wildest decades lurked a guitarist with opinions as sharp as his vintage Stratocaster riffs. Ronnie Wood, the eternally cool Rolling Stone with the infectious grin and devastating slide guitar skills, wasn't just the life of every backstage party who transformed from Face's frontman into rock royalty. He was also a man who secretly despised several of his most celebrated peers.
Well, some things are beyond our control, and losing Charlie was one of those things.
The London-born axeman behind unforgettable solos on Miss You and Start Me Up was renowned for his easygoing personality and collaborative spirit, a spirit that apparently masked some seriously bitter feelings toward certain musical acts. Music should make you move your hips, not scratch your head, Wood allegedly confided to a roadie in 1976. Some bands have forgotten the difference completely. Welcome to another episode of Offstage Tales, where today we're pulling back the curtain on Ronnie Wood's hidden vendettas and the 6 bands who supposedly triggered his legendary temper. From rumored studio blow-ups to alcohol-fueled rants in smoky London pubs, Wood's conflicts with these groups expose deeper battles over rock's true purpose: artistic authenticity versus intellectual showmanship, and the eternal struggle between heart and head in popular music. So crack open a cold one and turn up those Marshall amps, because we're counting down the 6 bands that allegedly drove Ronnie Wood absolutely mentally. 6. Pink Floyd, kicking off at number 6 on our countdown, is a name that will blow your mind. Pink Floyd. Yes, the psychedelic space rock pioneers with their elaborate concept albums and mind-bending soundscapes reportedly earned Ronnie Wood's serious irritation throughout the progressive rock era of the early 1970s.
Suggested that we could help to promote Polly's book, which got lost in the wash a little bit with that whole lot.
The animosity reportedly started in the late 1960s when both bands were emerging from London's underground music scene with completely different philosophies. According to British rock photographer Mick Rock, Wood allegedly told drinking buddies at a Chelsea pub, "Roger and David think every album needs a bloody philosophy degree to understand. They've forgotten that rock music is supposed to feel good, not give you homework assignments." What frustrated Wood wasn't just their experimental approach, but their pretentious attitude towards simpler rock arrangements. While Wood was perfecting his bluesy slide guitar work with the Faces and later the Stones, Pink Floyd was gaining critical acclaim with what Wood reportedly called soundtrack music for planetariums, extended instrumental passages that, in Wood's straightforward view, mistook boredom for brilliance. Rock and roll should grab you by the throat, not put you to sleep with 30-minute guitar solos about walls, Wood reportedly told Melody Maker in 1974, without directly naming Pink Floyd. But London music insiders knew exactly which band he meant. The tension allegedly boiled over during a 1975 session at Abbey Road Studios, where witnesses claim Wood packed up his guitars when someone suggested they experiment with Pink Floyd-style atmospheric effects, allegedly grumbling to his sound engineer, "I came here to make music, not background noise for acid trips." Pink Floyd had apparently committed the ultimate sin in Wood's book, taking themselves too seriously while forgetting to rock. 5. Genesis. Rolling in at number 5 is a feud that exposed the battle between showmanship and authenticity. Genesis, the theatrical prog rock masterminds with their costume changes and elaborate stage productions, reportedly became one of Ronnie Wood's biggest musical irritations during their peak Peter Gabriel years in the mid-1970s.
Why do people hate me? Why is Phil Collins one of the most vilified?
The conflict allegedly erupted after Genesis gained widespread attention for their conceptual performances featuring Gabriel's bizarre masks and storytelling interludes. According to NME journalist Nick Kent, Wood reportedly told fellow musicians at a Soho recording session, "Peter thinks every gig needs fancy dress and puppet shows." Real performers don't need to hide behind Halloween masks to connect with their audience. The dismissive remarks allegedly reached Genesis management within hours through London's interconnected music network. What really got under Wood's skin wasn't just their visual theatrics, but their approach to live performance. While Wood had built his reputation on raw energy and spontaneous guitar interplay, Genesis was achieving success with what Wood reportedly called dinner theater rock, elaborate productions that, in Wood's purest view, prioritized spectacle over musical substance. There's performing music and there's performing at music, Wood allegedly told a journalist at a 1976 London club show, clearly targeting Genesis without naming names. Industry veterans immediately understood the reference. The situation allegedly reached a breaking point at a backstage meet and greet where witnesses claim Wood refused to pose for photos with Gabriel, allegedly muttering, "I don't do pictures with people in costumes unless it's Halloween." Genesis had apparently crossed the line from musicians into what Wood saw as overproduced theatrical nonsense. 4. Yes, crashing into number 4 is perhaps the most technical clash on our list. Yes, the virtuosic progressive rock wizards with their complex compositions and instrumental gymnastics reportedly pushed Ronnie Wood to his breaking point with their mathematical approach to music and endless showcase solos.
And the Beatles had this song called Love Me Do on the radio all the time. So off we went to see the Beatles.
The hostility allegedly developed in the early 1970s when Yes was gaining recognition for their intricate song structures and virtuoso musicianship. According to classic rock magazine editor Jeff Barton, Wood reportedly complained to session players at Olympic Studios Rick Wakeman and Steve Howe that music is a bloody math exam. They spend 20 minutes showing off when they could just play a decent tune in 3. The harsh criticism allegedly spread throughout London's studio circuit within days. What drove Wood absolutely mad wasn't just their technical prowess, but their seeming obsession with complexity for its own sake. While Wood was mastering the art of melodic simplicity and groove-based rhythms, Yes was building their reputation with what Wood reportedly called musical masturbation. Elaborate arrangements that in Wood's rock and roll philosophy sacrificed soul for sophistication. Music should move your body, not your calculator, Wood allegedly told a BBC radio interviewer in 1974, obviously referencing Yes without direct mention, but everyone in the industry caught the dig immediately. The feud allegedly climaxed at a charity concert rehearsal, where witnesses claim Wood stormed out during a Yes sound check, allegedly shouting to his roadie, "I can't watch these blokes turn rock music into a bloody science project for another second." Yes had apparently committed the cardinal sin in Wood's world, forgetting that great music comes from the heart, not from technical manuals. 3. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Sliding into number 3 is a rivalry that divided rock into camps of excess versus essence. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the keyboard-driven supergroup with their orchestral bombast and classical pretensions, reportedly became Ronnie Wood's most despised example of everything wrong with 1970s progressive rock mentality. The bad blood allegedly originated in the mid-1970s, when ELP was dominating arenas with Keith Emerson's spinning keyboards and Carl Palmer's massive drum kits. According to Sounds magazine writer Steve Clark, Wood reportedly vented to pub regulars at his local Richmond watering hole, "Keith thinks every song needs a bloody symphony orchestra and a knife-throwing act. They've turned rock concerts into pompous variety shows for people who think they're too sophisticated for actual rock music." The brutal assessment allegedly circulated through British rock circles faster than a Keith Moon drum solo. What made this feud particularly intense was their competing visions of rock's ultimate purpose. While Wood championed stripped-down authenticity and bluesy groove, ELP was achieving massive success with what Wood reportedly called classical music vandalism, elaborate productions that in Wood's traditionalist mindset destroyed both rock's rawness and classical music's dignity. Rock and roll was supposed to rebel against stuffy concert halls, not become them, Wood allegedly told Record Mirror in 1976, though the interview was never published in full. Real music doesn't need a conductor and sheet music. The animosity allegedly peaked during a 1977 music festival where witnesses claim Wood refused to share the same backstage area as ELP, allegedly telling festival organizers, "I don't want to catch whatever disease makes musicians think they're bloody Beethoven." ELP had apparently transformed rock music into exactly what Wood believed it should destroy: pretentious, overproduced, classical wannabe nonsense. 2. King Crimson. Burning into number 2 is the most intellectually explosive revelation on our list. King Crimson, the avant-garde prog rock masterminds themselves, allegedly became the target of Ronnie Wood's deepest artistic frustration and professional bewilderment, despite their shared reputation for pushing musical boundaries.
Open themselves to this relationship with music, and for that, one needs a discipline.
The tension reportedly began in the late 1960s when King Crimson exploded onto the scene with Robert Fripp's cerebral guitar work and their dark, experimental compositions. According to rock historian Chris Welch, Wood reportedly told close friends at a Richmond pub, "Fripp and his crew think making music should require a bloody university degree. They've confused being clever with being musical, and frankly, it's exhausting to watch." The bitter comment allegedly revealed Wood's growing frustration with prog rock's intellectual direction. What truly irritated Wood was King Crimson's critical acclaim and their approach to guitar work. While Wood had been perfecting his instinctive blues-based playing style, King Crimson was achieving legendary status with what Wood reportedly called mathematical music, compositions that in Wood's view prioritized brain power over emotional connection. Some people think weird time signatures make them geniuses, Wood allegedly told a music journalist in 1973, clearly referencing King Crimson's complex arrangements. But music is supposed to make you feel something, not solve puzzles. The rivalry reportedly turned personal when both guitarists were compared in music magazines. Industry insiders claim Wood became increasingly annoyed that Fripp was being hailed as innovative while Wood's straightforward approach was dismissed as simple, allegedly telling bandmates, "He's trying to turn rock music into a bloody science experiment, while the rest of us are just trying to make people dance." 1. Jethro Tull. Taking the top spot in our countdown is the ultimate British rock betrayal that stunned the entire music world. Jethro Tull, the folk rock flutists themselves, allegedly became Ronnie Wood's most hated band through a combination of what Wood saw as ridiculous instrumentation, pompous medieval obsessions, and shameless manipulation of rock music's core identity.
Final battle between the good and the bad. And the rock part means destiny.
The feud's roots allegedly trace back to the late 1960s when both bands were competing for attention in Britain's exploding rock scene. According to melody maker journalist Roy Hollingworth, Wood reportedly told fellow London musicians, "Ian Anderson thinks bringing a bloody flute to a rock concert makes him innovative. Real rock instruments have strings and amplifiers, not holes you blow through like a school band reject." The devastating assessment allegedly spread through every major recording studio in London within hours. The breaking point reportedly came when Jethro Tull began achieving massive commercial success while maintaining their folk rock credibility. Sources claim Wood felt personally offended by their approach, allegedly telling confidants they built their career on nursery rhyme melodies and Renaissance fair costumes because they can't write proper rock songs like everyone else. The animosity reached legendary proportions during the 1970s when both acts were touring extensively. Industry veterans claim Wood became obsessed with discrediting Anderson's musical legitimacy, allegedly saying at a backstage party, "The difference between Jethro Tull and real rock bands is that we actually rock. They just prance around in tights playing medieval elevator music for hippies who think they're cultured." And there you have it, the 6 bands who reportedly made Ronnie Wood lose his cool. Which rivalry surprised you most? Let us know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button for more explosive rock feuds.